So you want to open a store? How are you going to pay for it?
Yeah, a rich uncle.
Well, I mean, what are the ways? You have the money.
Right?
You get a loan.
Good luck.
You borrow money.
That's, yeah.
You get a loan using collateral. I mean, those are the big four ways, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So most people that have the money to open a game store, they're not going to open a game store.
Right.
Because you can do better things with that money, like buy stocks.
Right. You can do
Invest in government bonds during a recession.
anything else.
I just say the quickest way to make a small fortune from a game store is to start with a large one.
Right.
So options, borrowing from family. If you hate your family, go for it.
Yeah, borrowing from family is it's tough because borrowing money from family never turns out well. I don't care who you are, and if you're doing it to do a game store, you're more than likely younger, and it's probably your first forte into owning something.
And you will fail about 80% of the time.
Right. So you've got to figure out a way to be able to pay that back or
Right.
just cry.
You could also, let's say somehow you've got a house, you could take out an equity loan or loan against it and use it and then lose your house.
Yeah.
Or we say good luck getting a business loan because banks, one, won't understand what the heck you're talking about. And, I mean...
Well, and you can, and that is definitely an option, but you've got to be able to write up a business plan. You've got to be able to come up with all sorts of things. You've got to be able to show cash flow. You've got to be able to show, what's your repayment time. But when you've got that kind of loan, you're fixed into a payment every month. And if you do decide to open the store, those first 6 months are going to be really tight. You're really going to struggle.
And how do we put this nicely? Any projections, any of those projections you put in a business plan for a game store are bullshit because you have no idea unless.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all right, let's say you're going to open a furniture store, car store. Who cares? You can actually find hard data. I mean, demographic wise, buying habits for age range, blah 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 blah. You might even get sales data for your area, depending on how many other retail establishments similar to yours are. But game stores, there's barely any literature on how to start. I think there's only 3 or 4 books even related to the hobby industry as far as starting a retail store. And I own 3 of them, and they're pretty
yeah, I mean, there is some of that information that's out there. You can get a hold of some of your local distributor for games.
Well, I ask stuff like that, but they will come off that data half the time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's such a underserved.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Retail sector, and there's a reason because it's a very small retail sector.
Yeah, it's a very niche market, and you can't go in singly. You can't go in and just say, okay, I'm just going to open a Magic store. I'm just going to open a board game store. I'm just going to just do playing card.
TCG store.
TCG store. You can't.
But I'm just saying, for you to come up with projections for a business plan to present for a bank for a loan, it's damn near impossible. Because let's say for some miracle there's 1 or 2 game stores in the area you're trying to serve, and you can get their data. Well, yeah, but now you're going to be opening an area that you got competition.
Right. And the other, the other big piece behind it is if you've already started doing some online things, which I would always recommend, is start online, start selling board games or TCG or whatever you want to do online. Get a little something going so you have some kind of income, even if it's small. You can take it to the bank and say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. I'm gonna open up the space, and exponentially I'm gonna be able to do this much
because now I'll have room.
Right.
But actually, going back to what you're saying, that is, at least in my personal experience, the best way. Don't open a game store. Start small online and build to it.
Absolutely. No, that is absolutely the right way to do it. It's
you get a decent sized Magic collection. Number one, I don't care. You can make a killing if you only have like 1,000 cards for Magic, if they're all valuable cards.
Right.
But the biggest issue with that is refilling your inventory.
Uh-huh.
So the best, or not the best ways, but the most consistent way I've seen for people to get to games brick and mortar, we are talking brick and mortar here, is start selling online and then doing shows or getting boosted events.
Yep.
Because those boosted events can help you restock.
Exactly.
Because obviously you don't have a brick and mortar, nobody's walking into your house going, hey, buy my Magic cards. Or troll the marketplaces on social media and stuff like that, but it also gives you a huge insight because you're still going to have to, do the accounting information, the tax stuff at the end of the year, inventory management, all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, you have a brick and mortar. The most tedious portion is the singles. Now imagine getting somebody's like 10,000 card collection, and you got to be able to burn through that in less than a week and get everything posted and get ready to flipped. Because if you take any longer than that, you might as well just go walk it out in the dumpster and throw it out.
Right. Yeah, and you can do that, going online. You can post on places like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, saying, "Hey, I buy Magic singles."
Or collections.
And that's the key is buying collections because it's going through unsorted collections, and it doesn't matter what, Force of Will, Lorcana, don't do Yu-Gi-Oh, but
well, singles for Yu-Gi-Oh isn't the worst. Just don't open product.
Right.
The EV on the EV on most card games now is negative.
Right. But a lot of those is going through those unsorted bulk. Now, when somebody comes in and goes, yeah, I've sorted it all. It's all in alphabetical order. It's all really nice. You know that there's not going to be a ton of value in there because they've already gone through it. If they've taken the time to sort it, they've taken the time to go through and pull the big value out. That's not saying there isn't any in there, but
right.
I would be more hesitant to buy sorted singles than I would, or bulk, than I would just unsorted. But try that online stuff. Try, if you're really up for it, get an understanding of what you're doing because it is tedious going through that amount. And then you're not just buying singles. You're not out there just, nitpicking. You're like, I'll take the heuristic studies and,
Which you can, but that's more. So your best bet is like Alex is saying, just buy bulk. I mean, not bulk, but like just here's my 10,000 cards, 50. I'll take it all.
Right, but you're gonna put out $1,000 for a collection, and then you're gonna turn around, and it's gonna take you 4 or 5 months to burn through that collection online at minimum. And unless you just pull, a chunk of really good, top stuff, which again you're going to pay more for.
But that goes back to the core of, Magic's our default example.
Right.
If I grab a 5,000 count box, and Joe here is selling it to me, and he wants 500 for it, you need to be able to thumb through that box and find the equivalent value, probably in under like 30 minutes, just initial rough through. And then you feel comfortable. Okay, here's $500. Now you got to go break down that box because, yeah, it may take you 4, 5, 6 months to get everything valuable in that collection sold out, but you need to get your money back probably within a month. If you can't flip that collection for what you paid for it in under a month, it's not worth it.
No, it's not.
Because, if you're good, it's like I've got a 5,000 count box. I can go through this box in like probably a day or two, pull out anything of higher value, which let's just say $10 or more, list it, and then start selling that crap. And if you paid $500 for it, you're probably going to have to get at least $1,000 out of it. We're defaulting here that you're selling a TCG player. Because after fees, shipping, materials, okay, you might out of that $1,000 profit $250.
Yeah, and then I ordered I had a $145 order from Card Kingdom that the reason I was late today, they had let me know that the order is lost. And so I had to reorder. So I was going through reordering before I got here today. But So you've got to throw those into
Your shrinkage.
yeah, your shrinkage is those kind of things happening. And then when you decide that you're going to open up the store, once you've secured funding, once you've talked mom and dad or somebody into doing this, and you've done a little bit online, you've understood it, you've got to go find a location. Oh, locations.
And then, well, I guess before location, you have to ask yourself, what do I want my store to be?
Right.
I mean, if you want to be the premier store that does a little bit of everything, all fancy and blah blah blah, yeah, go find a 2,000 square foot space. It's going to cost you $5,000 a month plus utilities. Or you could be like, I do pretty good online. You can get something off the beaten path a little. Don't make it look like a dump, but you can find nice places off the main drags for a decent amount. Because if you are couth enough to know where to post all your stuff, like get in all the community groups on Facebook, get all your store listed, like every game you're going to do, get it listed on every site. If you're selling specific lines of product, get on their retailer page, make it where people can find you that are looking for the things you're selling.
Right. And so when we opened GameStar, when we opened our very first location, it was a 500 square foot, just front of building. My two partners did it. I came in at store 4 with them and took them to 16. But their first store, it was just the two of them. They were the only ones that worked it. And it was small collections of video games that they both had and Magic the Gathering for all intents and purposes. Once they got it to the point where they had been running it for 6 months, the landlord had said, hey, I've got a location that is 1,800 square feet. I'll give it to you for an extra $200 because it's kind of off the beaten path. Would you be interested in it? And they said, hey, we've been doing this for a year. We need to expand. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And that would be my recommendation going into it, is start something small.
Lucky.
Yeah, try to figure out, don't go all out and go, I need to be in the parking lot with Walmart. You don't need to be on a high traffic.
Well, here's a good scale, and this is why we say start online. If you can get to the point online that you're consistently making, let's say, X dollars a month, and then this is what I did with my store. When I found the location, I did the math, blah, 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 and I'm like, you know what? And at this point, I was just buying collections from people online. It's like my online operation can pay for the store.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So then, if you are able to fund, because imagine you start a game store and you have no experience, no incoming revenue, you're going to need to have at least 6 months operating expense. Just operating expense. We're talking rent, utilities, payroll, insurance, all that crap. Just to open, because nobody knows you're there. Nobody knows what's going on. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Right.
So if you're next to Walmart, I hope you got $50,000 in operating expenses. And you're going to burn through that in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got an online operation, you're like, oh, I'm making, we're bringing in 3-4, I'm profiting $2,000 to $5,000 a month. You're like, oh, you could probably find a nice little off the beaten path location. Your online operation is paying for your overhead, but your overhead's also low enough where there's no pressure.
Right.
And that's key, I think.
Yeah, if you can cover 3 months rent, if you have 3 months rent just sitting in a bank account somewhere, you're not going to stress as much as you are with going into a big location and just all of a sudden having to hit it out of the park.
You can also not be fully stocked, because, and then this goes back to doing your research. if you like know the area, you were raised in the area, you know what everybody likes, you could probably open up with a decent amount of stuff.
Yeah.
The problem with, oh hey, there's no game store in that town 45 minutes away, let's go open one there, and then you open it up. You have no idea what people's tastes are.
Right. No, you don't. But on the other hand, you don't want to open up, too empty, because if you walk into, say you've got a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot space. How big is this space?
1,600 upstairs. I think it's about 3,500 total.
So yeah, 3,500 square feet. So and that's play space and show space. If you walk in and half your walls are empty, people are just going to be like, "Are you serious? You're not going to be here very long." So,
well, it also depends on how your space is set up. Like my store's got a basement, so
right.
When I opened, I had 6 tables upstairs, and my basement was closed off.
Oh, yeah, and that's a really good way to do it. The other thing to look at is, at least initially, are what kind of revenue streams can you do in the store? We had early on when we were doing the game stores, we had because we were buy sell trade. We did video games, we did cards, and so we fell into the same laws as pawn shops. And so our basic thought was, if somebody brought something in, it was worth something, we'll buy it.
Like anything, or just?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we mean anything. Coils of wire, speakers.
Wow.
There are, and it was an ongoing joke, and I think it's still inside the office that my partner still has. But there is a muffler for a Honda 125 that we bought, like on my 3rd or 4th day with the company. We bought this thing, and I finally mounted it to the wall with a little sign that said, "Hey, not everything has value," because we couldn't sell this thing to save our life. But we did do a lot of that. I mean, we had digital cameras, we had, iPads, and if somebody would walk in with something, and I remember somebody walked in with an Omega watch one day and said, "Hey, I'd like $1,000 for this." We looked it up. It was a $2,000 watch. We figured, we said, "Well, we'll give you $800 for it," and we sold it. We made a little money. Don't discount those things, especially if you're already selling online and you're doing well. It's not going to be a long-term strategy, but it's one of those, hey, you're just getting out there to get started.
But you don't really want to run into that with like higher end things.
No. You got to make sure you be able to turn it. You need to be able to make sure that places like eBay really well.
And you might, I don't know if there's like a loss on this, but throw $5 cards on eBay just to get your rating up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Get those little things that you can do. Get your ratings. Make sure you respond when you're selling online. You've got to be able to respond to the customer. You've got to be able to you have to respond.
I'm just saying, if you got that $500 car and your rating's under 100 and you throw it up on TCG Play or eBay, nobody's gonna buy from you.
No. They're gonna look at their ratings, and they're gonna figure you're trying to rip them off somehow. You're trying to do something to,
People will pay more for a sense of security.
Yes.
If we have the same card and it's an expensive card, there's $100. I'm selling it for 85. You're selling. This other guy's selling for 100, but he's got like 50,000 feedback, and I got like 25. People probably pay the 100 because they're like, I know I'm gonna be treated. I have no worries about this guy with 5-digit feedback.
Right. No, I buy specifically from Card Kingdom, primarily because I don't like buying from TCG. Because I don't like buying from the individual. I like getting everything in one package, and if I have an issue, I have one phone call to make, and they will fix it, and they'll deal with it. And I even though I'll pay a little bit more than I would if I had to buy something from somebody else. But the other things you've got to look at when you when you're doing it, so you're opening a brick and mortar, so you've got to go get some inventory.
I would say evergreen products.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, don't call up a distributor's publisher. Like, if RPG, D&D, and Pathfinder, that's it. Don't get some obscure World War II ace pilot. Don't.
Yeah, you don't need those.
Board games. Go to Board Game Geek, look at the top 20. I wouldn't go any deeper. And get, like, one copy of each game.
Yeah.
Don't, because once you figure out what your clientele wants, what they're into, you're also going to need to get rid of that dead inventory. But if it's a perennial, like, it's a high rated product or game, you can probably move it online pretty easily.
Right. Yeah, but again, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, stay away from those mass market, target games, we like to call
Unless
them.
there's a special version like that, right?
Yeah, the Ravnica one, but that's a magic thing, and that's going to be...
And it comes with eight boosters and a foil shotgun.
That's a little different, but, I'm looking at your wall here, and I'm seeing the stuff you can come in and play for free, and, don't buy Operation or Connect 4 or, the standard Risk or Monopoly. Oh my gosh, anything Monopoly. Just let them go buy it at Walmart. But, you want the things like Ticket to Ride or...
Pandemic Settlers or Catan,
any of those kind of things, that's the stuff that people are going to want to come in and get a little bit of help with.
But watch out for don't go apeshit on the expansions.
No.
Like, get the first 2 or 3. Because here's the thing, even if you're back to the location thing, if you're off the beaten path, but you know where to list yourself and your events and all that, you should do okay. Because, foot traffic is nice, but it's not going to convert to sales like if you're a candy shop.
No, but you do need to figure out a way, and I've talked about this in just about any entertainment piece, being video store, gaming store, anything. How do you get mom inside the store? And then when mom comes in, is she comfortable? Trying to... Because mom controls the pocketbook. And those kids are going to be... The amount of those, I like to call them early adopters, but they're the kids that start out playing Pokemon or, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever it is at 10, 12 years old, and then 14 or 15 get into Magic. And then you've got mom who, while you're in there shopping for your Pokemon card, looks around the corner and goes, oh, Settlers of Catan, I can play that on adult game night. Or, there's a kid game night that we've got coming up,
Most moms look at those games and go, on.
Yeah, but you want to be able to still...
Right.
You want mom to be able to come into the store. You can, if you really, really need to, you can stretch into comic books.
Yeah.
The problem with comic books is there's so much out there. You've really got to know what's going to be able to sell, and your inventory is going to sit. We have a comic book store near us, a couple of towns over, and he probably is like 600 square feet total, and he deals with a little bit of Magic, a lot of board games, and comic books. And if you ever go in on a Tuesday morning, it's comic release day, and
I think most of his business is subscription, though, or not like subscription like emails, but like people come in and
right, and so it's, again, you've got to be an expert in that stuff, and reading X-Men since you were 5 does not make you an expert in comic books.
I personally, I would say, and I know this goes in but that was years ago for you, is stay away from comics, stay away from used video games, stay away from all that crap, especially with the used game bull crap that happened a couple years ago with WATA games and all that. It's overhyped crap. Comic books, I think both DC and Marvel have it now. You can do a digital subscription service and get access to all their back issues and current issues on your tablet.
Yeah, but if you're a collector, you're a collector. I mean, that's the thing is
No, and that's fine. But the issue there comes into you're lucky you get an account with the comic distributor. You get 50% off for the first year. Now, comics $3, you buy it for $1.50, fine. But if you don't sell that month, you're not going to get $3 for it because new issue's out. And then you have to buy so many regular issues to get the chase cover or the alternate cover. So unless you're moving, the 10 regular copies to get the one there's just so much.
Oh, and that really is that's in everything. I mean, if you come out and you opened up a store,
comics are the worst though when it comes to that.
Yes, but everything runs into that. If you opened up a store a month ago and you said, okay, I'm gonna stock Pokemon, Lorcana, and Magic, and oh my God, they're reprinting the first edition Lorcana. It was so expensive when it first came out. I'm going to buy a ton of it.
Well, number one, if you do that, you're an idiot because if you didn't buy it when it first came out, then the reprint, you should know that. But no, the difference is, it's like I still got set 1 and 2 Lorcana. Set 3's coming out this weekend. Set 1 and 2 packs are still going to sell for the $6-7.
Right.
I'm saying comic from 6 months ago, that's $3 cover price. I'll be lucky to get $2 out.
Yeah.
But that's the kicker. You get that 50% break for the first year if you're a new retailer. Then it drops down to like 40 or 30, depending on scale that you buy. So I'm just saying comics as a as a part of your store. Okay, if I got 3 boxes of comics in the back corner, great. But if you're going on as a comic store, just close up and go home.
Yeah, we one of my partners was huge into comics, and he had a massive collection. And we didn't touch comic books. We just absolutely would not. The same thing was like if you're in video games doing things like the guides. You stay away from the guides.
It's all online now.
Yeah, it really is. So once you've decided, yeah, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to open a store, and I've done some stuff online. And hey, Mommy is going to give me X amount of dollars to go open a brand new store for me. Now you've got to go find the location. So when you're looking at the location, some things that have worked for me and some things that haven't worked for me. Opening up, I opened up, said 12 stores with Game Crazy. Or GameStar. I opened up 250 stores with Game Crazy. I did almost 300 stores with Hollywood Video.
Was it Game Crazy in the Hollywood Videos?
Yeah, we were in the Hollywood Videos. I went into the corporate office after being a district manager. And then we opened up some Game Crazies inside Hollywoods that were smaller and whatnot. So we did 300 of those. When I left Game Crazy, we had 800 and a little bit of change on the Game Crazies.
How many of those are still open?
Right. We had 7,000 Hollywood Videos. When I came on board, I was at store 225. And when I left, I actually went to go work for Mark Waddles, who was the founder of Hollywood. And some of his personal stores. So I've done it and I've been around it for a long time. But when you're looking at places to open, the things to stay away from that we have found are extremely high income neighborhoods with really good schools. The biggest pushback I've had there is kids don't do anything during the week other than play sports or.
Oh, yeah. They got to get ready for Harvard and Yale.
Yeah, they're studying, they're doing things, so they're not in there daily. Extremely low income areas. You can do it, but it's going to be. You're going to have to understand people don't have that much expendable income and so they're gonna shop. They're just not gonna shop on a regular basis, and that's the key, is getting those people to come in on a regular basis.
Well, that goes back to the other thing. Wherever you do open, you also have to take into mind, because here's the thing: you're gonna have all kinds of people come in your store, but you're gonna have regulars. You're gonna have, and by that I mean the guys that come in every week play Magic or whatever, or the guys that come in every month or two and, oh hey, new set came out, give me a box. You might only see these people. Like, I've got people that buy Pokemon. They come in whenever a new set drops every 3 months. Oh hey, give me a box or two. Those are the people that are going to provide you your consistent income, and whether they're coming in dropping $1,000 every 3 months, or they're coming in dropping $10 every couple of weeks, you have to adjust your product lines or offerings to fit the people that regularly come to your store. You're not going to be able to have, I got a $500 chess set, or I got a 6-foot Drit statue. No, maybe you're just selling the little minis and the little $20 board games and just packs of Magic, as opposed to the store 2 cities over that sells Magic by the boxes in the hundreds.
But it's never doing things like pre-orders will really help you, and just asking your guys, hey, does anybody want this product, or how do you feel about this coming out? And your regulars in whatever department, your Lorcana guys, getting that community feel inside the store. I play at CCGPrime every Friday night for Magic. We have a good group of anywhere between 12 and 20 that show up on a regular basis.
Yeah, we had 15 last Friday.
Right. That's not a ton of people. The other shop I play at on a Thursday night, and they run anywhere between 65 and 80 people on a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the difference is I think Grand Rapids has a population like 250,000.
No, and I get
the entire population of Ionia County is like 65. So right.
But when you're looking at them, you've got to, the rent that the place out in Grand Rapids is probably 3 times, if not 4 times the amount that it is here.
They probably pay per square foot what I pay a month.
And
I'll tell you that after.
Yeah.
My renters.
But it's and that's what you're looking for. And we did the same thing in our stores. The stores that we opened our first store, and then our second store was an absolute knockout. Our second store, we had 4,000 square feet. It had a ton of play space. It had enough for our video games, everything else. We were the only people in town, in a town of 300,000. And
well, that'll do it for you.
It's basically what paid to open up the rest of the stores. As we started opening up other stores, we found, a couple of really home run locations, and so we paid a little bit extra on the.
And a bunch of meh.
Yeah. Oh, and we did open 4 stores. One of my partners said that he had signed 2 locations in Salem, Oregon, and as soon as he said Salem, I went, no, we probably shouldn't do these 2 stores. And they're like, well, we've already signed the leases, so we should go. Now, big surprise, they didn't do well, and then they came
what was
out.
Up with Salem,
Salem, it was lower income. And then it was also saturated with Magic stores.
Oh,
just saturated with Magic stores, and video game stores as well. And then they turned around and said, we want to open 2 stores, West Lynn and Wilsonville, Oregon. West Lynn, Oregon is where all the Trailblazers live. And so a ton of money up on the hill there. I mean, just a ton of money. It's one of the best high schools in the state. Just a ton of money. And the same with Wilsonville. And we ran into that problem, is that, nobody walked in the store until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and 90% of our revenue was Saturdays and Sundays. But we had to be open from 10 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, Monday through every day of the week, and we're paying employees to do this.
Why'd you have to be open like that?
It was because we were at that point in time we had, I think there were stores 12 and 13 were West Lynn and Wilsonville.
Right.
And it was just it was to the point where
You just have one person there then.
yeah, we did, and we did. But it was we were almost we were a chain at that point in time, and so we had a reputation that we had to uphold, and we couldn't be closed on certain days, and you didn't want to chase away that one person. But the West Lynn store, and we ended up closing because it actually cost us more to keep it open than it would to close it. But we were only a year and a half into the lease of a 5-year lease.
I was about to say, even if most of your revenue is Saturday, Sunday, as long as it's paying for itself. Hey.
It was not doing it. But little off tangent here, but we decided that we were going to close the West Lynn store. And we closed the store, we took everything out. And we shut it down completely. I mean, it was everything. We even took the sign off the building. But we couldn't get out of the lease. So the company that we were leasing it through was one of the major leasing companies that you'll find across the U.S. They came after us. And I remember I was inside a Safeway, and I got a phone call from my partner.
For the full lease, or just like a percentage of the remaining lease?
They were going after us. They wanted the completion of the lease, which was another year and a half, or 3.5 years, and they had won the judgment against us to do it. And remember, it's just two of us. We don't have any money out of pocket. We're not paying ourselves a whole lot of money at this point in time. And my partner calls me, and I'm sitting inside the Safeway, and he's like, the leasing company has drained the bank account. We have no money in the bank account. This was a Tuesday. Payroll is Friday. I've got 55 employees, and I've got no money. Between the two of us, we had a $10,000, $12,000, whatever it was, payroll, 14, or whatever our payroll was, due on Friday. And this was Tuesday, and our bank account is drained. They took it all. And the feeling that day was, we're done. We're walking away. We're not going to make it. And that's a really scary feeling when you've got when you've got something going, you've got a lot of people depending on you, and then something like this happens, you just don't know how to do it. And these are the kind of things you need to be prepared for, because if you're working that store, 5 days a week, and you're the only employee in the store, and something like this happens, you don't pay yourself that week. That's what happens. If you've got employees and something like this happens, money disappears, it's not just you that you've got to worry about. You've got somebody else who's working for you, probably minimum wage. But still, if you're working, if you got somebody working for you minimum wage, that's usually their only job, and they usually are living paycheck to paycheck, and they need every cent that they can get.
Yeah, God, the first time I had a game store, it was North Carolina. We started a 900 square footer, then we moved to a 3,000 square footer.
Mm-hmm.
And my original partner, we found out he was skimming and crab, whatever, not paying bills, so we forced him out. We shut that store down, moved to another one. But hey, small landlord, You owe me money. Go to small claims court.
Right.
And the only thing that saved my ass is that was the first year we started doing a little 1-day convention and the local community center, and I'd already paid for the venue. So I'm like, we're doing this event anyway. We made enough money to cover the payment, and then still have a little bit left over to help set up our new location.
No, and that's the kicker is you've got to be prepared for these little blips in the road. Now we continued going. We kept going, and I stuck around for at least another year and a half, and then I ended up leaving. But if you can't deal with change, and your
pressure
or change is the biggest thing. If you can't deal with change, don't get into retail, because it changes on a daily basis and little things are going to happen. If you're one of those people that it's a hardcore gamer, but you're a little OCD and you want everything set and you want to open your own store so you can be your own boss and you can, the same thing happens every day and you can control everything, do not do it. You are gonna run into things that will stress you out and make you truly. You need to understand what you're getting into.
Like here, this is me personally, and depending on your market, obviously this is going to be untrue, but this is the going rate that I like. Unrealistic in most venues, I know.
Yeah. No, I mean it. Well, you'll get something like that, $1 a square foot
Per month or 12. A lot of these retail.
Yeah, they'll say $12 a square foot.
Yeah, they mean per year.
Yeah. Those are, those are great, but watch for things that they call triple net. Triple net, they will tack on extra fees.
Well, the big one is the taxes. Like, okay, you're keep it simple, stupid. 1,000 square foot retail space. You're paying $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year. All right, simple enough, right? But then the fine print, you got the KM fees, common access maintenance. So especially if it's common like strip malls and crap. Oh, you're pitching in for the plowing or the lights in the parking lot, and that makes sense. You're sharing this space with those other businesses. But then other stuff like, hey, the roof has to get repaired. Another tack it on. But then the taxes. Okay, what's the property tax for? This is stuff, and to be honest, if you're going for a triple N lease, you probably want a real estate lawyer. Not just a realtor, but like an actual, to go and, because our second store up in Cedar Springs, we were looking at potentially moving. And guy had a strip mall right off of the highway. It was right next to a Little Caesars. Like, great exposure. He's like, yeah, we can do it for like, $1,000 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, what? Oh, taxes, can't all that crap. I'm like, okay, so what? And my question to me was simple. I'm like, okay, so this extra I'm going to pay you for the year. On average, what is that a month? Because I understand they got summer, winter taxes, and that's what it's due, and that's fine. Well, it's only paid I'm like, how hard is this? How much am I going to owe you a year divided by 12? Whether I pay it to you or not doesn't matter. I can put that aside in an account. And it was like trying to pull teeth out of an alligator. I couldn't get a solid answer. Because the last thing you want to be doing is like, hey, my rent this month is, let's say $1,400 with all this other stuff. And then you get the bill, hey, it's $1,800. Like, what? Oh, we had to replace some electrical thing in the back, because a lot of these leases too also have like, if there's upgrades or repairs, like let's say there's a leaky roof, they're going to spread that cost around to the tenants.
Yeah, and those triple net costs and cams and everything else, they change. And so, when you first sign that lease, that may be, hey, here it is. Here it's $1,000 a month plus this. Boom. The other thing you're going to be looking at is it could be $1,000 month, a $1 square foot for a 5-year lease with a 3% raise every year.
And that's fine. I mean, as long as you know it's there.
Yeah, and as long as you know they're there, but you just got to be prepared for all of that. What is the break lease fee? I love dealing with private landlords. I love dealing with somebody who's not a corporation. Some dude that had a couple $1 million went out and bought himself a strip mall or a couple of buildings.
Well, that's the one in Cedar I was looking at. That was just a dude and his buddy bought this. So it's like,
Yeah.
You're still kind of like, well, and you can negotiate on a lot of these too. I mean, some places are not going to be as flexible, but I guess the biggest lesson I'm trying to say is, if you're so eager to open a store, have a business, you also have to know when to walk away from a like if somebody's like, oh hey, I've got this magic collection for $500. You thumb through it and you're like, I found $800 value, and you're like, I'll give you $400 for it, and they're like, well no, I want $5. If I mean personally, the most I would pay for if I go through a collection and I see it's worth, let's say, $1,000, I'm not going to offer more than $500 cash for it because I have to do all the work. I have to sort it, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'll give you $500. Like, well, I want $600. You have to be able to go no, and your mind might be telling, oh man, you got to grab it. No, you have to know when you have to know your boundaries when to walk away. So let's say you find the perfect frickin' location. You're looking at the lease. You're going over. You're like, oh, like everything here is great except for like this one thing. And you're like, depending on what that one thing is, and they're like, we aren't going to budge on that. And it's one of those factors that you don't know what it is. Like, let's say it's cam fees, but then like the next year they hire a new plowing service or lawn service, and those guys charge 5 times what the old one did. Well, you're on the hook for 4 times what you were paying. You have to know when to say screw it and just walk away.
Yeah, it's got to be. You've got to take emotion out of a lot of these decisions when you're opening the stores. The worst thing you can do is get emotionally invested into a location, or I'm going to open a game store and it's going to have board games, it's going to have TCGs, it's going to have a whole lot of stuff. But I am a huge Magic fan, so I am going to just dump the majority of it into Magic. You don't know if that's what your community is going to want. You've got to be able to look at these things objectively, and that's is it worth it from a business point of view?
But I mean, to be fair, Magic isn't the worst thing, because even if you can't sell it locally, you can usually move it online.
I'm using that as the example though. But if you're a Lorcana fan, you're like, oh, I'm going to have Lorcana front and center. This is going to be amazing. And then nobody in your area plays Lorcana. And the same thing, if you walk into a location, you go, oh my gosh, this location's perfect. It's right next to a grocery store. It's this. I've got the great location. Yeah, it's $600 more a month than I want to pay. We can do it because it's such a great location. Be careful. I wouldn't.
And well, maybe you could, but let's say that other location you were looking at was $1,000 a month, but that was a private landlord. That's all it was. But this one's $600. Oh, it's only $600 more, plus taxes, cam fees.
Right.
Like it adds up. But anyway, I guess So basically, we're saying don't do it, but if you're gonna, don't be an idiot about it.
Yeah, understand your business. Take any kind of passion out of some of the decisions to open it. When people say it's not personal, it's business, they really do mean it. I mean, you really do have to take that kind of point of view and run things from a business point of view.